Aishmai, Sitahi, Krisoi, Christoi, what is cracking? Everybody. Everybody was cracking. How are you? You okay? You feeling alright? We got a cheeky chat about the Creature of Havoc. Fighting Fantasies, Creature of Havoc, written by Steve Jackson. And this bad boy is thick. Dummy thick. It is 460 references. Now if you don't know, the regular, the average size for a fighting fantasy book is 400 references. So this is a little bit extra. It's like buying a tub of Pringles and it says, "Boy, you've got 30% extra." Is it true? Who knows? You probably eat them bad boys in like what, a second. But we got this book's a bit thicker than regular. It's a bit thicker than your average fighting fantasy book. And what's that about? What is that about? Well, we're gonna find out in this cheeky chat. But before we dive in, before I get waist deep in this bad boy, I've heard from a friend of a friend, if you drop a single like on this video, just one like, your like, the Creature of Havoc isn't gonna barrel into your room and screech at you like a chimpanzee. I think one like protects you from the Creature of Havoc. That's what I've heard anyway. So if you want protection from the Creature of Havoc, obviously, leave a like. Leave a like in this bad boy. Maybe leave a comment. I'm gonna encourage some discussion. Leave a comment. Feel free, obviously, to subscribe because this train keeps on rolling. We are going, I don't know, either downhill or uphill. It's a long road either way, but we are gonna keep going. So, without further ado, let's get further into this video. So, a little bit of backstory on the Creature of Havoc. It was published back in '86 by Puffin. Then Ian Livingstone wrote this book actually to be quite difficult. According to feedback, readers really enjoyed the difficult books. The books are quite hard, and as a result, this book has 60 extra references of difficulty, I suppose. I've always associated the size of this book with the difficulty. This book is definitely more of a difficult challenge than, say, Death Trap Dungeon. This book has a lot of difficulty associated with it. So that's enough about the difficulty. What sets the Creature of Havoc apart from, say, Death Trap Dungeon? Well, you play as the Creature of Havoc. You are playing as according to the Wizard's cover, you're playing as some sort of albino monkey with claws. And I thought this was really cool. I thought this was actually really cool. You're not an adventurer, you're this monkey thing. And it adds to the gameplay, obviously, as you wake up at the beginning of the adventure. You're sort of trying to gain control of your bestial form. And you stop, raging. You stop raging eventually. But up until that point, you realise that you, as this creature, you can't control your urges. You're sort of like this animal who just sort of wants to go into fights and beat everything up and eat them. Whereas maybe if you were just a human, you'd wait until the right time and then you pounce when it's more likely that you're going to survive. And I thought this was a really nice take on an adventure. You don't always play as some sort of animal. You normally play as just a regular human or whatever you want to be. So why should you buy the Creature of Havoc? Why should you spend your hard-earned money on the Creature of Havoc? Well, if you're reading through these books and you've read The Warlock of Firetop Mountain, The Citadel of Chaos, Death Trap Dungeon, and you sat there thinking, well, these books weren't that hard, these books weren't that difficult, there's not a whole lot to them. Well, the Creature of Havoc has you covered. There's a lot more that you need to take note of. There's a lot more that you need to do. You can decipher what they're saying at the start. That's fun, that. Or you have items that let you add or subtract numbers from your current reference to find secret doorways, secret passageways, and that in itself was quite fun in my opinion. It was interesting, definitely. So there's a lot more that you could do to get more out of your adventure, and on top of that, you're playing as this weird albino monkey thing with claws. What's not to love there? You are basically some monster. And the Wizard's cover, I still think this is the Creature of Havoc, but the Creature of Havoc itself is quite creepy, and you're playing as it. What's not to love? It's quite fun. And then the icing on the cake is that before you actually start your adventure, you're treated to an awful lot of lore. And you might be sat there thinking, wow, that's going to be quite boring, that is. But no, it's actually really good. It's really, really good. It establishes that you're in this world. It's actually a world. You're not just running these secular adventures, This adventure exists within a world. So you learn that, what's-his-face, the necromancer Zeradan Ma, he definitely drinks Carlin, but you learn that he knew Zagar from the Warlock of Firetop Mountain and Balthus Dyer from the Citadel of Chaos. These three knew each other. Or, yeah, they knew each other, because if you play these in order, you're going to learn that the Warlock of Firetop Mountain, Zagor, has been slain, and Balthus Dire has been slain. So it establishes that you're part of a world, and I thought that was really good, because it's very easy to fall into the understanding that these aren't very connected. But this book actually establishes that you're in a world. I thought that was really cool. It is very much the icing on the cake, in my opinion, because who doesn't love lore? But, that's what I reckon. If you want to know, should you get this book? If you got it up on eBay, on Amazon, and you're thinking about clicking it, buy it now, I'm going to say yeah, buy it now. Click it, and you're going to enjoy reading this book. It's actually really fun. It's a joy to read. So now I'm going to shimmy on, I'm going to slide like a seal on ice into judging these book covers, because unlike Mean Girls, we don't wear pink on Wednesdays, but we do judge book covers on Thursdays. So let's chat about these covers, because I enjoy judging them. They all look cool, let's be real, they always look cool, there's never been a bad one. So without further ado, let's have a cheeky chat about these covers. Let's judge them by their covers. So with the Puffin version, you have Zaradan Mar. And he looks really creepy, to be fair. He is a necromancer. You look at this bad boy and you think, damn, he is a necromancer. Well, I am led to believe that this is Zardamar, because it makes sense, It could be another fella in the book, but I doubt it. So you have this guy. He looks quite creepy. He's pretty cool, in my opinion. And one thing I will say about the Puffin edition, whether or not it is the Green Zigzag or the Dragon edition, it doesn't really matter. The cover is still the same. And I think this is pretty cool. It's got some of that 80s fantasy style art there. Who doesn't love that style of art, man? It is so cool. And but yeah, that's about it for Puffin. I really like this cover. It is really creepy, in my opinion, because I've grown up with the Wizard series. What I would have liked to have seen is the Creature of Havoc on the cover, but it is what it is. I suppose Zaradan Mar is he's a bigger character in the world of fighting fantasy. I suppose he's more important, I suppose, than the Creature of Havoc, which sounds awful to say, but I suppose it's true. So yeah, I like the Puffin version. The Puffin version, in my opinion, is pretty cool. It is up there as being one of the cooler covers. So, staying like a seal, sliding on ice, we're gonna slip and slide straight off into the Wizards cover. And the Wizards cover, in my opinion, is probably one of the coolest ones. And if you've even listened to my previous videos, you're gonna realize that I am very biased towards the Wizard covers, because these are the ones I grew up with. These are the cooler ones, in my opinion. It is what it is. But yeah, when you look at the Wizards cover, what you have is this weird albino monkey with claws, sort of tearing off this deceased person's arm. Probably gonna eat him. Who knows? Who cares? He's finders keepers. Gotta get that protein somehow, innit? And you're in a cave. It looks really cool. I say cave. You're probably in the dungeon at the start of the book. But yeah, it's just a really cool cover, innit? It stands out a bit on your shelf. You're gonna put it on your shelf, and you're gonna walk past. And you're gonna think, "Gosh darn, that is a weird albino monkey thing with claws." And that's because you are this weird albino monkey thing with claws. And if you're British and you remember the adverts, I think this is one of the ones that was in the advert with the little kids walking back or to from school, And that's really what stands out to me. This book cover is pretty cool. It's probably one of my favourites, let's be real. So yeah, the Wizards, you can't go wrong. You can't fault it. It's creepy. It's ominous. It sets the mood. It sets the scene, It makes this appear to be like a dark fantasy rather than just, high fantasy? I think they're high fantasy because you're facing an awful lot of creatures, There's a lot of races in these books. But yeah, I like the Wizards edition. You cannot go wrong with the Wizards edition. So this seal will keep on sliding straight into the Scholastic edition. We're going to look at the cover, and the cover, in my opinion, is actually a really nice shade of purple. You got Zaradan Mar. The purple contrasts nicely with Zaradan Mar's fat forehead. He has a really thick forehead, doesn't he? He's got a 5 head? Possibly he's got 2 brains in there. Who knows? He is a necromancer. But yeah, the cover's actually pretty cool, in my opinion. It's not necessarily as good as previous editions. I think that they really could have done with a full art cover. And I'm saying this, they probably have full art covers out there, It's just I'm looking at these minimalistic ones that are easier to get these days. But yeah, I think the cover's pretty cool, to be honest. Once again, it is minimalistic. It has a really nice shade of purple on there. And you got Zaradan Mar and his thick forehead, dummy thick forehead, and his pointy ears. He looks creepy, he looks ominous. You might be led to believe that this fella is the Creature of Havoc. I don't believe he is. Maybe in some weird twist that he actually is. I don't know. That's not something I really picked up on. But yeah, it's a cool cover. It is really cool, and obviously it sort of takes after the Puffin editions, where it features Zaradan Ma rather than the creature of Havoc themselves. So yeah, it is what it is. What I rate it, I do actually quite like it. Yeah, you know, it's not necessarily on the same at the same level as the Wizards edition. I always prefer the Wizards edition, but this cover is certainly cool. So, if we had to rate these bad boys, if I had to put these guys into a list in a 1, 2, and 3, first, second, and third, obviously, you know what's going to go first. It's the Wizards edition. Who doesn't like Wizards? My goodness, these are some cool covers. But then second is going to be the Puffin. Third is going to be Scholastic this time. It's not a joint second place. I think the Scholastic version, yeah, it's cool, but it's not quite full art, and I think that lets it down, you know. I want to see this bad boy revamped. I want to see his redesign. The guy looks creepy. He has got a thick forehead. He's got a 6 head even. But you don't actually see it in all its glory. You just sort of see him looking down at you spitefully, which it is kind of cool. It makes him look evil, but you know, on the cover of the book, it just doesn't do it for me. So yeah, we got first going to Wizards, second going to Puffin, third going to Scholastic. You know, none of the covers are bad. It's just some are better than others. So it is time. It is time for well, I haven't got my waders here. Could you pass me my waders through the screen, through your phone screen, through your monitor? I don't mind. I just need my waders, whether they're pink, yellow, blue, or orange. It doesn't matter. I just need to get waist deep in this bad boy. We're gonna talk about this book in a bit more depth. We are gonna talk about this book maybe from start to finish. I'm saying this. Yeah, that's how we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it in order. Don't worry. So yeah, let's get deep into this book. Let's get waist deep. So let's go. So the introduction of this book, you got a lot of lore, and I'm not going to read out all the lore because that would take a while, you know. That would bump this video up to what, 20 minutes. So I'm just going to pick out my favorite bit of lore, and my favorite bit of lore actually explains the creatures that you bump into the Citadel of Chaos. You know, the creatures guarding the door at the start of the Citadel of Chaos. You know, you've got that the monkey with the dog head and the dog with the monkey head. It explains these creatures. I thought this was really cool. So let's talk about that. We got Dree, the village of the witch women, and if you can hear the book rustling in the background, well, that's because I'm going to read a little bit from the book. Well, I'm not going to read, I'm just going to summarize. And it basically says, well, where do we start? You know, Dree is a village. It's a dark village, nestling in the fork of 2 rivers, like a viper in its nest. Dree is a magnet for miscreants and black-hearted creatures. It came into being originally as the home of the exiled hag witch Romina Dree, who had been banished from the town of Salamonis for her hideous magical experiments, not content with the more acceptable form of witchcraft. Curses, foretelling the future, love potions, and herbal remedies. She turned her attentions to the essence of life itself. So basically, I did read that from the book. So basically, what Romina Dree has actually done, she's created these marangas. Marangas. It's a weird word. It sounds like a vegetable, it sounds like a fruit, and it sounds like an instrument. It's a maranga. It sounds a bit like a margarita pizza, but it is what it is, and it basically is splicing animals, putting like a dog head on a monkey's body or a monkey's head on a dog's body. And this is really cool because it actually sort of explains what those creatures were in the Citadel Chaos, and I'm not sure if creatures like this will pop up again, because I'm reading these in order, and I'm not really cheating off camera. I am reading these in order, so yeah, I thought that was really cool. But what the lore then says about Dree, well, what it says about Dree is that Dree is one heck of a hole. You know, it's not a nice place to be. They sort of make these creatures and then dump them on the streets, you know. So then you got these creatures living on the streets, fending for themselves, and like I said, you know, these are mostly animals. So they're basically creating these abominations which have no place in reality. They don't even. The book says that they're not entitled to life or something like that, which summarizes it all really. They're creating these creatures who might be severely disabled, unable to actually feed themselves, and then just leaving them on the streets for other creatures who are more able to eat. And I thought that's quite grim, innit? That's quite dark, but it sets the scene for Dree, you know. Unfortunately, you don't get to drop a bomb in this place because, quite frankly, it sounds awful. You know, why couldn't we go into Dree and put an end to it? But it is what it is, you know. Dree is this hole. They create these creatures. They leave them out on the streets to fend for themselves. It's very much a dog-eat-dog world, and I thought that was quite cool. Either way, I think it's time that we actually get into the story, get into the adventure, get into the meat and the potatoes of this book. You know, you're not here to read about the lore, are you? You're here to be the creature of chaos or creature of havoc. I don't know what the creature of chaos it is. It must be a Warhammer thing because it's stuck in my head. But you play as the creature of havoc, so let's get into the actual adventure. So you start this book off by waking up and you realize not everything is going as smoothly as you want. You realize that you're a monster, you realize that you're the creature of havoc, but it's not sort of like the realization that you're a human who's now a monster. It's the realization that you're just a monster. Your arms are heavy, your head's heavy, you're struggling to get up, you don't really know what's happening, and as you get up you see a huddled over figure in the a bit further in the distance, and you approach it because, as a curious albino monkey with claws does, you know, you just approach it. You're interested. What is this? What's happening? So this is really where it sets the tone because you approach this creature, and it's a hobbit. He's bleeding. He's on his way out, and you're speeding it up by just being there. He's understandably terrified because you are a terrifying creature. And he's sort of shouting at you in gibberish because you don't understand it. You need a cipher to decode what they're saying. That's something in itself. That's quite annoying. But he is saying something to you, and you get the options, you know, to help him, show him that you don't mean any harm. You sort of reach paw out to pick him up. But understandably, being a terrifying creature, and this guy being a small hobbit, he stabs you. And, you know, it doesn't really hurt you that much because you got like these thick scales. But you just sort of end him. You ruin him. You game over this guy in this brutal bestial rage, and it's acetone. You know, you slay this creature. You sort of go for his stuff, but you're an albino monkey thing with claws, so it doesn't really matter. And it's really sets the scene. You know, this is what's going to happen for the rest of the first half. Like I said, this is more or less what happens for the rest of the first half. You collect vapors, and you slowly gain sentience, I suppose, over yourself or control. Because at the first half you have to roll a dice to decide which direction you're going to take, because you're very much pushed forward by your animalistic instinct. For instance, there's a scene where you encounter 3 hobbits just sort of standing in this the room looks really nice, to be fair, in the illustration, but they're standing in this room, and 2 are talking. They're obviously quite worried. A third is constantly keeping a watch. He's probably very well aware that you're there, but he's keeping watch to make sure the guys don't get jumped. And you're given the option then, do you want to wait for the right time to attack, or do you just want to barge in like an albino monkey thing with claws? And because you're an albino monkey thing with claws, and you've developed a taste for hobbit flesh, you just sort of rush in there and beat them all up, you no-scope them. You game over them, and you eat them. And it says you eat them quite messily, so that's quite fun, isn't it? It is what it is. But yeah, this is the first half of the book. You gain sentience by collecting vapors, and then you have to collect these easily missable key items which allow you to open secret passageways. I found this really annoying because I got stuck in this infinite loop, and I ended up needing to use a guide to figure out that these items existed. That was fun. But yeah, you know, this is very much, in my opinion, the first half is very frustrating. It's very annoying because you're just stuck in this room. But either way, the first half is summarised then with a boss fight. So there's a boss for the first half, and then, well, I think it's a boss, in my opinion, Daramoose. Daramoose is he's an undead half-elf who's really good at magic. But he is the first boss, in my opinion. You slay this fella, but you do actually need a special ring to slay him, and it just sort of releases this gas, and he's just like, OMG, bro, what have you just done? And as he's just sort of choking and expiring, you just sort of do a sick dab on him and keep moving onwards. It's fair enough. And yeah, this is really where you leave. And you approach this elf who's guarding this door, whatever, and he's sort of talking to you, and because at this point you've regained, I suppose, sentience of yourself, and you can't talk to him, but you understand what he's saying, so you just like, you nod to him, and then you just wait for him to check on the guy. And this guy, he's very aware that Daramoose is no longer alive, I suppose. So then he's like, well, if you give me your pendulum, if you give me that special little thing you've got there, well, I'll let you go. I'll let you go, and but I do actually need that item from you. So you say, yeah, bro. Well, you don't say, you probably just nod and then give him the item, and then you're on your way. You've left the dungeon, and you're now in the real world, which is great. So you're in the real world, and you're sort of mincing around as this creepy albino monkey with claws, and you find this creepy hut. You think, well, I'm going to go in there. And there's witches in there, and they're all creepy. They're understandably creepy because they're creepy old witches. and they give you this quest. They give you a task, and your task now is to collect scallyweed, a plant for them. So that's really what you do. But you spend the night there because you said yes to doing their quest. They're like, we're gonna treat you right, boy. They leave you like a slab of meat for you to eat in the morning, and you think, well, I'm good to go. I'm on my way. And from that point onwards, you're just sort of going out to collect this scallyweed. And that's exactly what you do. So you encounter this town where there's this fella beating up a half orc. You choose to step in for the half orc. You beat the guy up. Well, you don't beat him up. You obliterate the boy. You save this guy, and then this half orc. You know, if you enjoyed having to add and subtract values from your reference number, that's exactly what you have to do with this orc. You have to, any reference that you land on that ends with a 7, you have to subtract, I think it's 50 from the reference to get like a secret thing where this orc's like, yo, I've hidden a knapsack beer. And that's exactly what happens throughout the rest of the story whilst you're trying to find the scallyweed. So you and this half orc are now on your way to get the scallyweed, and this is really it, you know. You bump into a fortune teller, the half orc's like, bro, go say hello to her. You pay her money, she gives you future, it foretells, it foreshadows that there's going to be a twist. The twist is actually pretty good, but we're going to get to that when it comes. But yeah, you end up in the swampy area of Toadmen, and this is where the scallyweed is. You, unfortunately for the half-orc, in your encounter with the Toadmen, they sort of ambush you. They're like, bro, you're not meant to be here. Can you go? Well, they don't say, can you go? It's more or less, because you're trespassing, we are going to game over you. And this is really the cool bit, because if you pay attention and you remember to add or subtract the values because of the orcs there, you end on a reference ending in 7. And this orc sort of jumps, well, he flanks around the Toadmen, and he sort of pounces at this leader. And he gets no-scoped himself, he gets game overed, but because his body now is in mid-flight, he sort of knocks the leader into the sinkhole, and then the leader's now sinking. The leader's doomed, but all these frogs are like freaking out because they're like, bro, what's happening? We need to get our leader out of this. So then you sort of do a run of yourself. I think you run around, grab this orc's knapsack on the way out, and then you're good to go. You know, you're good to go. So you've sort of, unfortunately, witnessed your friend getting game overed, but then you go on, you fall asleep, and you have a dream. You have a dream where these witches approach you again. You got two trying to tear you from a single witch, and you reveal that you've actually got the scallyweed root, and they're like, oh, brilliant, you've actually completed our task, you've completed this trial, we're actually going to help you now, we're going to tell you what you need to know to get to complete your adventure. So in summary, these witches give you a ring of truths, and they tell you about Daga Weaseltongue. And now Weaseltongue has this horrible habit of just lying constantly. So then you sort of eventually wake up. These witches slide this ring onto your albino monkey thing with claws onto your finger, and they say you wake up in a new area, and you're almost immediately greeted by Weaseltongue getting jumped by 2 bandits, and then you have to save the guy. You have to step in and save him because he's been battered, and then once you've saved him, do you know what he does? Straight away? He tries telling you fibs. So you flash this ring at him. You're like, bro, look at my bling. And he's like, oh, okay, I've been found out. Let me tell you the truth. And now they tell you about the galley keep. And this is a flying ship. It's really cool, actually. It's a pretty cool ship. And he tells you how to get onto the galley keep. And, well, that's really it, you know. Weaseltongue doesn't really do a whole lot. You sort of force the truth out of him, and he does a runner himself. But now, your goal is to get onto the galley keep. So, if in the lore for this book, it explains the galley keep. It's this massive floating ship. It's really cool, actually. But, what's his name? Necromancer Zaradan Ma. He's taken over the ship and he's declared it as his own. He's using this as his own hidden fortress of sorts. So now you're trying to get onto the ship to sort of defeat this guy. You got to defeat Zaradan Ma, and you're hoping that's going to be the solution to your problems. So what you do then, you go around the forest and you sort of look for these, I suppose they're traps. They sort of lift you up high enough for you to be hoisted upon the ship, and you activate the trap. You eventually get hoisted onto the ship and you fight 2 goblins. You absolutely obliterate them because, let's be real, they're little green things and you're this giant albino monkey thing with claws. So you defeat the goblins, you rush off then into like this corridor kind of thing, and you get into the captain's quarters. So now you're in the captain's quarters, and you're looking at a mirror. But this is the thing, if you know what to do, you actually sort of see into the mirror, And then you're greeted, well, you're not really greeted, you sort of creep on him for a bit. But you see Zaradan Ma just sort of sitting in the library, doing his own thing. And I think you just enter the mirror. I think that's sort of the thing. No, wait, no, you don't enter the mirror. The Zaradan Ma, actually, he sort of wakes up and he's aware that you're there. So this is it. You and Zaradan Ma finally meet. So in summary, you sort of realise that you're a Maranga, that you're this individual that has been turned into the beast. You were human, you were turned into the beast. Actually, you were the captain of the galley keep. This galley keep is yours, and you've been turned into the creature of Havoc. But you know, in this sort of conversation, Zaradan Ma, he's like, give me the knapsack because it has a vapor in it. Vapor of life. You know, he needs this for his evil goals. So you say no. You probably don't say no. You just shake your head. You refuse to give it to him. And this sort of encounter is concluded by you smashing a mirror with a crystal club. I thought this was pretty cool. You know, I like interacting with mirrors after the mirror demon in Death Trap Dungeon. It's kind of cool. It's kind of nifty. But you know, Zaradan Ma, he's trying to do a run out. You smash the mirror. I'm not sure if it actually defeats him. It's sort of left ambiguous in my opinion. But you realise that you're now human. You know, you're turning back into a human. But this is really, you know, the twist has been revealed. And the twist was, the majority of the people that you encountered in the dungeon were actually your crewmates on your ship. You know, for the most part, you've encountered all your crew on that ship. But they were turned into like hobbits or whatever. So you've been going around this dungeon as effectively slaying and essentially eating your friends, which I thought that was quite cool for a fighting fantasy book. I thought that was quite cool. It's a sort of twist that you don't normally get, but it is pretty cool. So now, in conclusion, you're now this human, and you've got your own ship. You've got this flying ship, and you're sort of in control now as Zaradan Ma's creatures. They're yours now. I don't know how, probably because you defeated them. But yeah, that's really the ending. So yeah, you know, I quite like this book. I quite like this adventure. You know, the only thing that I didn't like is that you constantly have to add and subtract numbers from your current reference. The book tries to do an awful lot, and I think if it tried doing a lot less, it would have been a better experience. But either way, I ended up having to use a guide because it just got on my nerves. It was yosemitesam.net. He does a cracking guide for the creature of Havoc. So if you're sort of in the same situation where you're in this infinite loop, head on over there. You know, it's pretty good. But like I said, you know, I do like this book. I think if you're thinking about getting it, treat yourself, you know. This book is good. You're going to enjoy this book. And if you get too caught up and you get trapped in this infinite loop, feel free to use a guide. You know, I'm not going to judge you. Who am I to judge? I use the guide myself. So yeah, you know, I think I'm going to summarize this video. You know, it is getting quite long. Hopefully, I am hoping the next one's a bit shorter for you guys. But yeah, you know, this is it. You know, feel free to leave a like. Obviously, I'm fueled by likes. If you found yourself disagreeing and you think that having to constantly add and subtract numbers from your reference to find, you know, wonderful hidden stuff, if you like that, feel free to say in the comments. You know, it'll be nice to hear your opinion. And feel free to subscribe. You know, I'm fueled by likes, I'm fueled by subscribes. You know, I've recently just hit 12. Like, thanks guys. I'm finally over 10. Finally over the first little hurdle. And I suppose my next target's what, 50 or 100. It is what it is. We're gonna get there when we get there. But yeah, you know, thanks for watching this video. You know, hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you enjoyed, because that's all these videos are for. Just for people to enjoy them. And I'm hoping to see you next Thursday for the Ports of Peril. You know, it's going to be a good one. So, I'll see you then. Take care. Look after yourself. Goodbye.
That's my boy. Hunt them down and make them pay.